I'm going to do a tutorial on how to tape and float a mobile home walls. Some people worry that with the strips off that it will be difficult to do, and so this is a project that I'm working on. We have already pulled all the strips off, you can see if you'll pan that way, and we have cut out any bad spaces that we thought were down on the sheetrock, any water damage or anything like that, and have already replaced with 3/8 inch drywall. You can see that all of the screws have been set, and I'll recommend for this project a ball peen hammer. These walls were in really bad shape. There was a smoker with lots of pets that lived here, so to correct the walls, we cleaned them several times with a TPS spray, and cleaned them off, let them dry, and then we used a Original Kills oil-based primer to seal in any sort of lingering smells there may have been. If you'll notice here, you'll come in and see that there was a lot of small nail holes, pinholes, whatever in the wall. And if you use a ball peen hammer, I left one here. When you start taping and floating, if you leave it like this, it's going to be really hard to get a smooth surface. So if you'll just take this end of your ball peen and dent it down, it will make for a better surface area once we get it all taped and floated and shoot the texture on. So I've already pre-cut all my strips. What you'll need for this part of the project is going to be your mud, what would you call this? A trowel tray, if you want to, and any size knife that taping knife that you're comfortable with. This one actually does a really good job. I think this is a 12-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch knife. So I've already pre-cut my fiber tape pieces. This right here, it comes in a roll, and I got the ultra thin. If you can come in here and look and see, it's a mesh tape with little bitty holes in it. And I pre-cut my links already, so I wouldn't have to do that while I was trying to video this. So what you're going to do is you're going to load your trowel up. And basically what we're kind of doing is getting that initial crack. And you can see all of those divots that I made. What gets put on here is a vinyl wallpaper, which this particular model is 23 years old, so it was not a particularly great pattern for what we wanted now. And I prefer the look of a more, floated and textured wall. So we have our initial coat up there, and it's not pretty. But that is not something we even have to worry about right now. Now I'm going to take my fiber tape, and I'm going to just put it right over that seam, and I'm going to take my knife. Proper way to do it because I don't really know the proper way. I'm just kind of well polished. And keep your hammer with you, because sometimes when you start bedding, you'll notice in that seam I had knocked down quite a bit. Sometimes when you start doing that, you'll see the nail popped, and you can go back and grab it. Okay, so that's going to be our first layer. And I'm going to let this completely dry, and then I'll start my next layer. Okay, you can kind of see now that I've got this entire wall with its first layer. Okay, you can see here on this inside corner that I'm going to have to deal with getting that taped and floated as well. For that part, I do not recommend the fiber tape. You definitely want something more solid in that corner. There's several different options. I like the one that comes in the roll with the metal trim. For this, I use 10 snips, and it cuts really easy. If you have a pair of those or anything that will cut metal. So I had already pre-measured and knew what length I needed. And then you're just going to take it, and I don't use this kind for outside corners, only for inside corners. For the outside corners, I like something even more sturdy. So it's got a guide in it. So if you'll just, all you have to do is fold it, and it will get into the proper shape that you need it. Okay, so now when you open it up, you have a nice sturdy inside corner bead. So let me put that here. And you're going to do the same thing that you did with the seams, and put your mud in first. For this, I like to use a smaller knife. I believe this is a 6-inch knife. And you're just going to do the same thing. Okay, I've gotten my mud all the way down the seam now. And now I'm just going to take and push that middle corner. Just push it in and start smoothing. I like to kind of do that all the way down so it doesn't walk before I start mudding it. Because if you start mudding it and kind of get off, then it's a pain. So I've just kind of set it in there. Now I'm going to take some more mud, and I'm just going to start now. Obviously on this job we have ripped out all the flooring. There's not anything that I'm worried about this mud getting on. If you're working in a house that you are not doing that, I would definitely suggest protecting your floors. It is a very messy job. Okay, first coat is pretty much dry, and you can see, still see a lot of the tape through the mud. And I don't sand after the first coat. I will do it after the third coat. So now is when it's kind of more important to use the bigger tape knife, because it's much easier to get it covered up. And you just load it up, and I usually start with pulling it straight down and getting really good coverage on that tape. Okay, so you'll see there that it's pretty covered with the mud. And now I'm just going to kind of work on smoothing it out a little bit. And I like to kind of go both directions. And still on the second coat, I'm not real too concerned that everything is so smooth, because probably end up doing about 4 coats to get it the way I want it. So, just gonna go back over here. Okay, for the next step, after we've already done the first coat where we bed the fiber tape, the second coat where we've gone back and filled in and gotten a good met on the wall and gotten it semi-smooth. Like I said before, I'm not usually real concerned at that point of making sure everything's perfect. So after the second coat dries, which this wall here on the opposite side of the room, I've already put in the first and second coat on, and so you can see how nice and smooth it is already. There was a seam right here, and we had a seam right here, and so you can already tell the difference of, you know, that you can barely even see those anymore. So what I do for this next step is, a lot of people will use the sandpaper on the stick, and it probably is a lot less dust, but I find that my little orbital sander with a 220 grit on it seems to work pretty well, and it's a lot easier on my arms. I like to move my sander side to side this way because it really lets me feel if any spots need to be built up. But this is feeling really smooth. Okay, so that is the, what did I say, first, second. This will be just a light third coat scratch that I put on, and then I'll do one more sand and we'll be ready to texture this wall. Okay, we are hopefully in our last day of drywall. Before I get started, I just wanted to give an extra tip to, hopefully we'll be shooting texture today, and for my friends, men or women, both, that have long hair like me, construction has been very trying when you have hair like this, because constantly trying to keep the paint and everything out of it, because it's a chore to clean up at the end of the night. So I was just going to give a little tip. When you're spraying the texture, you tend to have it, if you're doing the ceiling, you're having it fall down on you, and it can get very, very messy. So for texture day, I do like to wear a hat, but also even with a hat, I still have quite a bit of hair along the back. So even with some days I'll wear a bandana, but even a bandana doesn't quite do it. I like to have the bill on for that. But what I do for all this that's still out the back, the easiest thing to do and keep stuff out of your hair is going to be just to put it in a bun. And I get a Ziploc baggie, or you can use a glove, or anything that you might have on hand. I wanted to show this because I thought if people see this plastic bag, and they're going to wonder what in the world I'm doing. So I just put it, and I wrap another ponytail around it to kind of hold it in place, because that's going to save me a lot of cleanup. Thought I would show how we take care of the outer corners. Yesterday I showed you the paper and metal bead that I use for the inside corners. Some people will use this for the outside corners as well. I prefer to use something a little bit stronger. So this is a plastic corner bead, and you can see it's perforated. It's very rigid, and it has holes. And if you can see this right here, you can see where that outside corner kind of humps over, which is going to help you with floating it in. And this I deal with the same way as I did the outside bead. I will take and measure and use a tin snip to cut through it. So this piece has already been measured and cut. So I'm just going to set it up here. And we're going to do this the same way that we did the inside bead. Oh, that I just remembered. You're also going to want to make sure that you have taken care of all the little nails from pulling those strips off. And usually I just run my knife. Because sometimes you can't see them. So when you run your knife, you'll feel them. You don't want anything sticking up. I knew that there was one up there I needed to get. All right, perfect. So that's, I always call it buttering it. I always say I butter the corners. I don't know if my dad maybe told me that once, or maybe I heard it, I'm not sure. But I always call it, like, it's almost like buttering the toast. But I didn't realize that was pointed in the wrong direction. I went ahead and I've already started filling this bead back up. So basically what I did was, you just want to put a nice generous portion and smear it from partway, you know, I don't know, maybe 6-8 inches into the wall space, and just start pulling that over. This first layer is not something to stress over. You're going to have to come back again. So once you get that loaded that way, if you'll just take your tape knife, this is why I like the big ones, and put it on this flat, and you can see that that gives you, already starting to give you a smoother surface. I've got my joint compound mixed, which might still be a little thick. You can see kind of the consistency where it's kind of starting to drip, almost like a really thick pancake batter. Okay, I wanted to show another option, which we just decided kind of last minute. In the 2 bedrooms, we decided to leave the seams up, and we fill all the holes and prime the walls with the original kills to seal the odor that was in the house. We decided in the rooms we were just going to paint them, but the texturing is so easy that we decided that we were going to go ahead and texture with the seams. So I'll give you a look at what that option looks like. Okay, and that finishes this section of the wall. The next thing I'll do on here is prime it and then get the fine coating on it. This is the wall that I taped and floated for the big living room area, and you probably can't tell from the video, but there was 1, 2, 3 strips that we removed and taped and floated, and it had the middle decorative trim that we pulled off also. So that was done, all the holes were filled, the walls were primed, and now I'm going to hit it with the texture. That wall's done, and the trim pieces up top, I'm just going to go back now and wipe with a wet sponge and wipe the texture off of them. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was helpful to someone who was trying to figure out how to go through that whole process. This was not a work day for me. I didn't get dirty today, but there probably is still paint in my hair somewhere. It's definitely still under my nails. But today I cleaned up a little bit and had some doctor's appointments. I'll be out next week. I've got to have surgery on my arm. I got kicked by my horse about 6 months ago, and I'm going to have my hardware removed, and they're going to repair some tissue. So I'll be out for a little bit, but hopefully it won't be too long. I'm going to try to get back over there just as quick as I can.
and get the next phase of the project started. It's nice to see paint on the walls, and I'm going to go over tomorrow and do just a little bit, but basically just trying to get to a good stopping point to walk away from for probably about a week. Then I'll be working with one hand. So it should be interesting. But hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I will try to answer them. I don't know that I will be able to, but I'll sure give my opinion on it. So anyways, thanks a lot.